So basically this article is talking about like very few buses accessible to disabled. So as we can see that our central government is taking is very serious law. Like earlier we say like Viklang, and now they are saying like Divyang. So nearly half of the government buildings made accessible, show data submission of Rajya Sabha. So basically this section is important in the terms of social justice is concerned, like accessibility of the disabled, Accessible India campaign. So what the government is doing for the disabled person. So that's why this article is important in terms of GS paper 1 Indian society and paper 2 like social justice as well as we can quote somewhere in the essay paper as well. So here we can say like data provided by Social Justice and Empowerment Ministry of the Rajya Sabha is 48.5% of the government buildings have been made accessible as against the target of 50%. It means somehow we achieve the target. So there was a 50% target and now we achieve 48.5%. So while only around 8% of public buses have been fully accessible under the Accessible India campaign, which we will discuss. So basically this article is what about the Accessible India campaign. 35 international airports. Basically, like we, as being a human, we have to promote such things. Like not this will not help or impart to the like vulnerable people, like the disabled person. That will also help it out for those person which is not disabled, because like there is a lift facility in the metro and buses. This will help you out for the disabled person. So all 35 international airports A and B category railway stations had accessibility features. 8.73% of the government's owned buses were fully accessible as against the target of 25%. 95 web cities of the union government were made accessible as well. So it means government are somehow, we can say, promoting the disabled persons. So what exactly the term is it has been used is Accessible India campaign. So what exactly the term is Accessible India campaign is basically imparting for those people who is like disabled person. So basically we can say this source is taken from the NCPD is like report card is here. Number of states and UTs that have responded is 67%. States that have not notified state rules, that is 58%. For person with disabilities, that is 37%. So this data, that's why I said in the first class that make us some short data book that you can quote it in the mains exam. So this is basically Person with Disabilities Act 2016 that is came into force. So now this one is, we can say, like Accessible India campaign is Sugamya Bharat Abhiyan. So you have to understand the term also that is used in Hindi, like what exactly. So Sugamya Bharat Abhiyan as a nationwide campaign for the achieving universal accessibility for person with disability, that is PWDs, launched in 2015. So Sugamya Bharat Abhiyan, which is Accessible India campaign, it is being implemented by the Department of Empowerment of Person with Disabilities under the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. So make sure the department, which department is following. Once the department is concerned, as you can see in the previous year of question of prelims, UPSC prelims exam. So as you can see, the most of the question they will ask is comes under which department. So you have to understand like it has been being implemented by the Department of Empowerment of Person with Disability under the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. It has three important verticals of the implementation. What is namely is build environment, transportation sector and ICT ecosystem. What exactly is ICT ecosystem? So basically ICT ecosystem is the information communication technology, like digital technology is concerned. So basically the government is imparting like three things, like first one build environment, the transportation sector, and we can say third one is that ICT ecosystem. So an accessible physical environment benefits everyone, not just person with disabilities. So this is you have to keep in mind. So as we can say, the questions in this year is asked in the philosophical based question. If you impart your life to the other person, as a Gandhi quote for this. So we can say this is not helping for the only for the person with disabilities. This will benefits to everyone. Measures should be undertaken to eliminate obstacles and barriers to indoor and outdoor facility like schools, like medical facilities and workplace facilities for the disabled person. This would include not only buildings but also footpaths, curb cuts and obstacles that block the flow of pedestrian traffic. Transportation, as you know, it's a playing a very vital role. But if we talk about for the disabled person, that is a very obstacle in his or her life to be move one places to the another places. So transportation is a vital components for independence living and alike other in a society. PWD, public work departments, rely on the transportation facilities to move from one place to another. The transportation covers a number of areas including air travels, we can say, buses, we can say, taxis, we can say, trains, we can say. There's a mode of transportations. So all transportation we need to cover it. So accessible information creates opportunity for everyone in society. Access to information refers to all information. People use information in many forms to make decisions about their daily lives. And this will help to every person, like that they can, we have to make them caliber to read the pamphlet with healthcare information, to understand the train timetable or to view web pages. No longer should societal barriers for infrastructure and inaccessible formats should be. The Accessible India campaign drew inspiration from United Convention on Rights for Persons with Disability 2007 to make sure that Sugamya Bharat Abhiyan, that which has the Hindi meaning of this one, Sugamya Bharat Abhiyan, which is the Accessible India campaign, drew inspiration from UNCRPD, which means that United Nations Convention on Rights of for Person with Disability, to which India is a signatory. So India is also a signatory member of UNCRPD. So the action plan and targets of the Accessible India campaign have been derived from goal 3 of the Incheon strategy. Incheon is a country in South Korea. So what it is the Incheon strategy? To make the right real. So what basically is Incheon strategy? Incheon strategy is basically make the right real person with disabilities in Asia and the Pacific. It is also known as Incheon strategy, which was launched in 2012 to chart the new course of action for the Asian and Pacific decades for person with disability from 2013 to 12. So what Incheon strategy goals cover development area including poverty reduction, we can say employment generation, political participation. See, we have to interlink the lots of things in a single articles, so that we can, your answer should be very enriched. So we can say it has mentioned like employment generation, political participation, ensuring accessibility to comprehensive terms, social protection, early intervention education, and disability inclusive disaster risk reduction. Building on CRPD like Biwako Millennium Framework for Action and Biwako Plus 5 towards an exclusive barrier-free and right-based society for persons with disability in Asia and Pacific region. Beijing Declaration is also concerned. So Beijing Declaration, including the action plan to accelerate the implementation from the Incheon strategy, also known as Beijing Declaration. So basically, Incheon strategy and Beijing Declaration is also the same name. And through this, we adopt number state of escape and high-level intergovernmental meetings on the midpoint review of Asian and Pacific decades of person with disability, which is held in Beijing. And what other things the government is doing? Providing full legislative cover to campaign a right to accessibility and Right for Person with Disability Act 2016, which came into force in April 2017 and became right for the Divyajan, unlike previously. As we can say, Division, which means that Divyangan. Divyangan, which means like previously we can say Viklang people. So now the in the Modi regime it has to be changed like Divyangan. Unlike previously, it was being seen merely as a welfare measure. Non-compliance of the provision of the act or rules thereunder has been made punishable by fines and imprisonment. Thus, the Accessible India campaign became an instrument to actualize the provision of the act. And why we ensure access for people with disabilities? Because a disability is the only disabling when it prevents someone from doing what they want. Because if someone is like disabled, he cannot go somewhere, he cannot find something. So in that case, we are not doing justice in the society. So in the is the term is very concerned, like a disability is not only disabling when it prevents someone from doing what they want or need to. When people with special needs are accommodated, their disabilities do not limit their ability to fully participate in life. As we can see, there are lots of examples. The person who is disabled and is very famous, as we can say, like in the terms of like John Nash. You heard about John Nash, a social brilliant but a social mathematician genius. There is a movie that was a beautiful mind. So that is based on John Nash. Is a Nobel Prize winner, and there was a mathematician, but the Nobel Prize, he got Nobel Prize in the case of economy. Like, so the person is disabled. He was suffering some mental disease. So if you are preparing for the UPSC aspirant, you must watch a movie that is a beautiful mind, that is based on mathematician and economist John Nash. So he's we can we can say he was disabled person. He was suffering from some mental disease, but still have his ability to define something in his life. So right to dignified life is the most basic human right. The code of the right, which is not covered by the some of the other rights, is about neutralizing the devastating isolation and loss of control over one's life brought on people with disabilities because of their needs for support against the background of an inaccessible society. Fairness and respect should be people with disabilities. We cannot discriminate some people if because they are like disabled, they cannot do anything in his life. So we have to reduce such things, and same rights has others, including right of fully participate in the community life. Many people with disability already have a difficult life. It is simple human decency not to make people's lives any harder. As a civilized society, it's our duty to help those in need. So always keep in mind, this is a because if it's a simple human decency, as we can see, not to make people's lives any harder. As a civilized society, is a person must have etiquettes and to promote for the disabled person. So people with disability add diversity to the community, and that diversity enriches the community. So if they can integrate into the community, they will have the opportunity to make more friends, and more people will have the opportunity to know them. So as we can say, like Paralympics is an example of that things. So because they are disabilities, that disabilities create some diversity, and that diversity promoting such enrich the community as well. So to provide full legislative cover to the campaign and right to accessibility, so basically we can say it makes good business and economic sense for commercial operation. Any kind of accessibility means people with disability can become customers, increasing sales volume. So it is mandatory that law protecting and promoting their rights is not only about providing disability related services, it's about adopting measures to change attitudes and behavior that stigmatize and marginalize person with disabilities. So it is also about putting in place of policies, law and programs. So government are imparting such things so that we can promote as a good citizen of that him of disabled person. It is also about putting in place the policies, law and programs that remove barriers and guarantees the exercise civil rights, cultural rights, economic right, political right, and as well as social rights by the person with disabilities.